in Section 29 of the NRIC as amended is hereby further amended to read as follows. So in Section 99 is rate of tax payable by donor. So in general, the tax for each calendar year shall be 6% computed on the basis of the total gifts in excess of 250,000 pesos. So exempt gift made during the calendar year. So next is the any contribution in cash or in kind to any candidate, political party, or the coalition of parties for campaign purpose shall be governed by the election code as amended. So next section is section 29. So section 29, section 100 of the NIRC as amended is hereby further amended to read as follows. So section 100, so transfer for less than adequate and full consideration. So where property other than real property referred to in section 24D is transferred for less than adequate and full consideration in money or money's worth, then amount by which the fair market value of the property exceeded the value of the consideration shall, for the purpose of tax imposed by this chapter, be deemed a gift and shall be included in computing the amount of gifts made during the calendar year. So provided, however, that a sale, exchange, or other transfer property made in the ordinary course of business, or a transaction which is a bona fide, at arm's length and free from any donative intent, will be considered as made for adequate and full consideration in money or money's worth. And so lastly, under section 30, the section 101 of the NIRC as amended is hereby further amended to read as follows. So section 101, exemption of certain gifts. So the following gifts or donations shall be exempt from the tax provided for in this chapter. So any donations exempt for the from the tax. So A, in the case of gifts made by a resident. So gifts made to or for the use of the national government or any entity created by any of its agencies which is not conducted for profit or to any political subdivision of the said government, and gift in favor of educational and or any charitable, religious, cultural, or social welfare corporation, institution, accredited non-government organization, trust, or philanthropic organization, or research institution, or organism. This is all exempt from the tax. So in this provided in this section.
Train Law Section 31 is all about the value-added tax on the sale of goods or properties. Hence, there shall be levied, assessed, and collected on every sale, barter, or exchange of goods or properties a value-added tax equivalent to 12% of the gross selling price or gross value in money of the goods or properties sold, barter, or exchange. Such tax to be paid by the seller or transferor. Train Law Section 32 amended as value-added tax on importation of goods. In general, there shall be levied, assessed, and collected on every importation of goods a value-added tax equivalent to 12% based on the total value used by the Bureau of Customs in determining tariff and customs duties plus customs duties, excise taxes, by aid and other charges. Such tax to be paid by the importer prior to the release of such goods from customs custody, provided that where the customs duties are determined on the basis of the quantity or volume of the goods, the value-added tax shall be based on the landed cost plus excise taxes, if any. Train Law Section 33 is hereby amended as value-added tax on sale of services and use or release of properties. Hence, there shall be levied, assessed, and collected a value-added tax equivalent to 12% of gross receipts derived from the sale or exchange of services, including the use or release of properties. Thus, the phrase sale of exchange of services means the performance of all kinds of services in the Philippines for others for a fee, remuneration, or consideration. Train Law Section 34 is an exempt transaction sector shall be exempt from the value-added tax. Train Law Section 35 is hereby further amended to read as Section 110 Tax Credits. Creditable input, provided that the input tax on goods purchased or imported in a calendar month for use in trade or business, for which reduction for depreciation is allowed under this code, shall be spread equivalently over the month of acquisition and the 59 succeeding months if the aggregate acquisition cost for such goods, excluding the VAT component thereof, exceeds 1 million pesos. Section 36 is amended as Section 112 Funds or Tax Credits of Input Tax. C. Period within which for fund of input taxes shall be made. In proper cases, the Commissioner shall grant a refund for creditable input taxes within 90 days from the date of submission of the official receipts of invoices and other documents in support of the application filed accordance with subsections A and B hereof, provided that should the Commissioner find that the grant of refund is not proper, the Commissioner must state in writing the legal and factual basis for the denial. Section 37 is hereby amended as Section 114, Return and Payment of Value-Added Tax. A. In general, every person liable to pay the value-added tax imposed under this title shall file a quarterly return of the amount of his gross sales or receipts within 25 days following the close of each taxable quarter prescribed for each taxpayer. Section 38 is amended as Section 116, Tax on Persons Exempt from Value-Added Tax or VAT. Any person whose sales or receipts are exempt under Section 109 BB of this Code from the payment of value-added tax and who is not a VAT-registered person shall pay a tax equivalent to 3% of his gross quarterly sales receipts. Section 39, Section 127 of the NIRC as amended is hereby further amended to read as follows. Section 127 Tax on Sale, Barter, or Exchange of Shares of Stock listed and traded through the local stock exchange or through initial public offering shall be levied, assessed, and collected on every sale, barter, exchange, or other disposition of shares of stock listed and traded through the local stock exchange other than the sale by a dealer in securities, a tax at the rate of the 0.6% of the gross selling price or gross value in money of the shares of stock sold, barter, exchange, or otherwise disposed, which shall be paid by the seller or transferor. Section 40 is hereby amended as Section 128, Returns and Payment of Percentage Taxes to persons retiring from business through a determination of correct sales or receipts.
Shall be inside to administer the declaration of the tax and duties imposed on the petroleum products and to oversee the application of the official markers. There shall be a list of chemical additives and corresponding quantitative ratio as identified by the Secretary of Finance as official fuel markers. The official fuel markers shall be distinct and to the greatest degree impossible to imitate or replicate, provided that the official fuel marker must be unique to the Philippines and that its chemical composition and quantitative ratio must be persisted for at least 3 years from their application and administration to the unmarked fuel. Rate and base of tax effective January 1, 2018. A tax of 6 pesos per
Section 76 or Section 254 of the NRRC as amended is hereby further amended to read as follows. So in Section 254, attempt to evade or defeat tax. So any person who willfully attempts in any manner to evade or defeat any tax imposed under this code or the payment thereof shall, in addition to other penalties provided by law, upon conviction thereof, be punished with a fine or not less than 500,000 pesos, but not more than 10 million pesos, and imprisonment of not less than 6 years, but not more than 10 years. So provided that the conviction or acquittal obtained under this section shall not be barred to the filing of a civil suit for the collection of taxes. Section 77. So Section 264 of the NRRC as amended is hereby further amended to read as follows. So in Section 264, failure or refusal to issue receipts or sales or commercial invoices violations related to printing of such receipts or invoices and other violations. So in this section, any person who commits any of the acts enumerated hereunder shall be penalized with a fine of not less than 500,000 pesos but not more than 10 million pesos, and imprisonment of not less than 6 years but not more than 10 years. So this is also if you're printing of other fraudulent receipts or sales or commercial invoices, you will be penalized also. So Section 78, a new section designated as section of 264 under a chapter 2 title X of the NIRC as amended is hereby inserted as follows. So in section 264, a failure to transmit sales data entered on cash register machine or the CRM point of sale system or the POS machines to the BIR's electronic sales reporting system. So any taxpayer required to transmit sales data to the bureaus of electronic sales reporting system but fails to do so shall pay for each day of violation a penalty amounting to 1/10 of 1% of the annual net income as reflected in the taxpayer's audited financial statement for the second year preceding the current taxable year for each day of violation of 10,000 pesos, so whichever is higher, provided that should the aggregate number of days of violation exceed 180 ISO days within a taxable year, an additional penalty of permanent closure of the taxpayer shall be imposed, provided further that if the failure to transmit is due to force majeure or any causes beyond the control of the taxpayer, the penalty shall not apply.